Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're diving deep into one of the most notoriously complex and fascinating books of the 20th century. We're talking about Thomas Pynchon's absolute masterpiece, Gravity's Rainbow.
We're pulling our insights today from a fantastic resource called Life Beyond the Covers. If you haven't checked it out, it's this incredibly reflective, knowledge-driven blog that explores all sorts of books and lifelong learning topics. It really shines at blending deep book summaries with actionable insights on behavior, discipline, technology, and personal growth. It's all about helping you think a little more critically, work smarter, and connect those big ideas with meaningful action. Specifically, we're looking at their December 2025 post covering the summary and key takeaways of Gravity's Rainbow. And hey, if you find this breakdown helpful, be sure to share the original blog link with your network on Facebook, X, or Pinterest.
So what exactly is Gravity's Rainbow? Published back in 1973, it is a sprawling, encyclopedic beast of a novel. It's set right in the chaotic final years and immediate aftermath of World War II. Pynchon brilliantly blends history, hard science, heavy doses of paranoia, biting satire, and myth. And he does it all through a highly fragmented narrative that literally mirrors the disintegration of modern identity. It is a wild, wild ride.
Let's break this down by the book's major sections, starting with Part 1, titled Beyond the Zero. Right out of the gate, the opening line hits you hard. A screaming comes across the sky. It introduces the terrifying V-2 rocket attacks on London, immediately setting this heavy tone of dread. Then we meet our main guy, Tyrone Slothrop. He's an American lieutenant whose romantic encounters bizarrely seem to predict exactly where the next rocket will strike. His body basically becomes a living map of the war. Because of this, he studied at a secret British facility called the White Visitation by this weird mix of statisticians, psychologists, and even occultists. Amidst all this mechanized destruction, we also get the fragile romance between Roger Mexico and Jessica Swanlake, offering a much-needed human counterpoint.
At the White Visitation, we also meet a character named Pointsman, who's running these creepy Pavlovian experiments. He's trying to prove that simple conditioning explains Slothrop's strange predictive behavior, which symbolizes how science becomes complicit in systems of control. Throughout Part 1, you're constantly hit with themes of paranoia, the merging of human desire with war tech, and questioning cause and effect itself. You'll experience surreal dreamscapes from a character named Pirate Prentice, bizarre seances, and dark hints that Slothrop's weirdness actually stems from corporate conditioning he endured as a child.
Moving on, we hit Part 2, titled Unperm o Casino Hermann Göring.
The setting shifts drastically here. We're now on the luxurious French Riviera, where Slothrop is sent on leave, but he's actually under strict surveillance. Here, he gets seduced by Katage Borgesius, a Dutch survivor of Nazi abuse, acting as a femme fatale in this much larger game of intelligence manipulation. The casino setting is super symbolic, too. It perfectly embodies chance, fate, and the terrifying randomness of war.
But eventually, Slothrop catches on. Realizing he's being played, he goes AWOL and kicks off his massive odyssey across Europe. The whole tone shifts right here. It moves away from that claustrophobic London paranoia into this surreal Mediterranean dark comedy that mashes up espionage with pure absurdity. Slothrop starts bumping into decadent aristocrats and finding coded messages hidden in casino games, all while feeling like his very identity is being dismantled piece by piece.
That brings us to the massive Part 3, In the Zone.
The Zone refers to post-war Europe, which has become this completely fragmented, lawless playground for competing world powers. Slothrop wanders through this chaos, adopting various disguises, including an actual Rocket Man persona, as he desperately searches for a mysterious 0000 rocket. Along the way, he encounters fascinating factions. For instance, the Herero tribesmen, survivors of German colonial genocide who are now building their own rocket as a profound symbol of resistance. You've got anarchists and Soviet agents all fighting to control the technology and the narrative, plus bizarre figures like Der Springer, who just embody the pure chaos of the Zone.
This is where Slothrop really starts to fall apart. His identity completely scatters to the wind. He becomes less of a flesh-and-blood character and more of an abstract myth, which perfectly mirrors the collapse of Europe itself. But the narrative is still anchored by real historical touchstones, like the Nordhausen rocket factory, the Potsdam Conference, and the looming shadow of Hiroshima. Pynchon is diving deep into themes of colonialism, race, technology, and the sheer impossibility of maintaining a coherent identity. It's packed with Slothrop wandering through ruined cities, sudden surreal musical interludes, and grotesque comedy that highlights just how absurd war truly is.
Finally, we reach the conclusion with Part 4, The Counterforce.
Here we see characters like Enzian and the Herreros trying to reclaim their agency by assembling their own rocket, the 0001. This leads to a massive symbolic confrontation between Enzian and a Soviet agent named Chicherin, representing the clash between indigenous resistance and Soviet control. Meanwhile, a fragile resistance group known as the Counterforce forms, featuring familiar characters like Roger Mexico and Pirate Prentice, who attempt to fight back against these massive systems of control. And Slothrop? Well, by this point, he has completely dissolved into myth. His scattered presence just proves that one single, coherent narrative is impossible in this world.
The novel leaves us with a truly haunting final image, a rocket suspended silently right above a movie theater in Los Angeles, decades later. It's Pynchon's brilliant way of suggesting that war, paranoia, and dangerous technology are still looming right over us, shaping our destiny today. The ending really hammers home those themes of resistance, the making of modern myths, and how paranoia just persists in our daily lives, capped off by surreal, apocalyptic visions.
So, considering all of this madness, what are the big key takeaways?
First, you have to realize that Gravity's Rainbow isn't really about a traditional linear plot. It's about massive systems of control, pervasive paranoia, and the fragmentation of humanity. Slothrop's journey is both literal and metaphorical. He becomes a walking symbol of how everyday individuals are consumed by larger, uncaring forces. The book's very structure even mirrors a rocket's flight path. It launches, scatters, and ends suspended in uncertainty. Ultimately, Pynchon's encyclopedic style demands that we as readers just let go and embrace the chaos of history, science, and absurd comedy.
Now, if you want to dive deeper into this discussion, definitely head over to the Life Beyond the Covers blog. You can drop a comment to share your own thoughts on Pynchon's work, and be sure to check out some of the other popular summaries they've posted while you're there. Speaking of other popular posts, they have a fantastic summary of Moonwalking with Einstein by Joshua 4. It covers how 4 accidentally entered the wild world of competitive memory. He goes to the U.S. Memory Championship expecting a bunch of eccentrics, but instead finds ordinary-looking people doing incredible things, like memorizing entire decks of cards in under 2 minutes. It really makes you ask the central question of the book. Are these memory champions born geniuses, or are they just using much better techniques? It's a fascinating look into ancient memory methods.
There's also a great breakdown of Ordinary Magic by Gregory M. Walton. This post explores the radical idea that you don't need massive, sweeping reforms or heroic willpower to change the world. Instead, it's all about subtle shifts in meaning. Walton argues that we are interpretive creatures, and that small, well-timed actions can completely redirect how we interpret our experiences. It's all about the psychology of meaning, like how a student interprets a bad grade, and it's super relevant to everyday life.
And if you're feeling a bit more philosophical, you should definitely check out their summary of Arthur Schopenhauer's Counsels and Maxims. Now, this isn't your typical upbeat self-help book. It's a blunt, unsentimental map of human life. Schopenhauer argues that your inner nature is the single biggest determinant of your happiness. External things like wealth, status, or praise, they're totally unstable and deceptive. What truly matters is the quality of your mind and your ability to remain calm amidst the chaos.
All of these incredible, deep insights come from the blog's author, Prafulla Sharma. Prafulla is fiercely dedicated to lifelong learning and explores an incredibly wide range of subjects, everything from cloud computing and AI to critical thinking, philosophy, and leadership. Through these thoughtful stories and reflections, Prafulla really encourages us all to think a bit more critically, develop our potential, and connect what we learn with meaningful, real-world action.
The site has a massive archive of content just waiting for you to explore. Seriously, there are dozens of deep dives published every single month going all the way back through 2026 and late 2025.
Whether you want to browse the historical archives or see what's fresh today, there is always something new and fascinating to learn. So, the only question left is, what will you explore next? Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and keep expanding your mind.